The movie opens in a futuristic Canada where the government has outlawed the conception of additional children in an effort to reduce population growth. Even if the first child dies, no one is permitted to have more than one child. An automated voice at a heavily guarded Canada-United States border station asks all visitors to bring their personal belongings to the inspection office. John Henry Brennick, a former Army officer, and his wife Karen are in an automobile that will soon be inspected. A magnetic vest that Karen is wearing inside of her outerwear is revealed when she moves her arm. Karen is, in fact, expecting, and they are traveling to Vancouver to deliver their second child. The female tube is tied by the government following the birth of the first kid. But Karen struck it lucky and became pregnant once more. The magnetic vest serves to conceal her pregnancy as a result. The soldiers tell them to exit the vehicle with their possessions when they get at the inspection center. Karen's purse is being inspected by a soldier as a female in front of them is detained for being pregnant. However, Karen's magnetic vest prevents the scanner from alerting the security personnel as she passes through it. Although the couple is secure outside, a guard approaches them and discovers Karen's magnetic vest. The troops attack them as the alarm begins to sound. John defeats them and escapes with Karen before crossing the bridge. John begs Karen to flee without him as the soldiers close in, and she grudgingly complies. John is quickly taken into custody, but Karen is able to escape. The next image depicts John and other captives being transported to a jail known as the Stronghold in a van. It is a high-security jail that is privately owned and run by the Mintel Company. It is impossible to escape the prison because the Stronghold is located in the middle of a sizable desert. As soon as they enter the building, the guards order them to remove their clothes. The fortress director Poe welcomes the inmates and introduces himself in the backdrop. After that, the convicts are transported into a room where they are all fitted with psychological security intelligence systems. The technology, which is implanted in their intestine, activates if someone violates the prison's rules. Poe declares that upon the installation of the equipment, any convicts who cross the yellow line on the floor would experience excruciating abdominal pain, while those who cross the red line will pass away immediately. As a result of anxiety, one of the prisoners breaches the yellow line. When he does, he immediately collapses in agony. He also unintentionally breaches the line. The man eventually bursts from stomach bloating. Others are loaded into a lift that descends underground. The prison's underground location of 30 stories is made known. Nino Gomez, another prisoner, and John are released on a floor. They are brought to a cramped prison cell by a monitoring device known as the Z-10. Stiggs, one of the prisoners, shouts at Zed, complaining that there are too many people in the cell, but Zed responds by threatening to intestine him. A laser beam in the cells prevents convicts from leaving their cells when not required. John presents himself to D-Day, another prisoner. The third prisoner, Abraham, warns John not to dream as they are ready to nod off. When everyone has fallen asleep, Zed arrives to look over the inmates. John's face is scanned, and it enters his dream. John has been having dreams about making love to Karen. Poe, the director of the jail, is watching John's dream from another location in the monitoring room and developing feelings for Karen. He wakes John up by reminding him that dreaming is an unlawful cognitive process that is not permitted in the facility. He struggles because of a sharp abdominal discomfort, which may indicate that he has been intestinate. The prisoners are forced to labor on underground construction the following day. Nino is sexually assaulted by the homosexual prisoner Maddox. John steps in to defend him and battles Maddox. Zed activates the mechanism in their abdomen to put an end to the disturbance. Later, they are all three detained in a small laser cell and questioned about who began the altercation. To be honest, Nino fears Maddox too much. John tells a fib about starting the brawl in order to protect Nino. Then Abraham takes him to Poe's office to shave Poe's beard. Poe plays a live video of Karen taking a shower for John. It comes out that she was detained alongside John and taken to jail as well. As a form of punishment, Poe injures Karen and John, causing them to moan in agony. Later, Abraham informs John that floors A and B are reserved for women, suggesting that Karen may also be present. Then, Karen is shown in her cell conversing with another pregnant female. Two guards drag her away as her stomach starts to pain. The women's quarter is entirely pregnant. Karen is aware that the facility takes care of their new babies. Maddox and John get into a brawl in the men's room. Everyone in the building, including Poe from his cabin, witnesses the men engaged in a fierce struggle. Karen is shocked to see her spouse from her floor. When John pushes Maddox down the edge, both parties are bloodied, but Maddox grabs onto it. John refuses Poe's command to kill Maddox and assists him instead. Poe decides to act on the situation and kills Maddox by blowing up his entire stomach, leaving a hole in it. Before being dragged away by the guards, John finds Maddox's abdomen device on the floor and gives it to Nino covertly. The next scene has Karen entering a space where John is imprisoned inside a huge apparatus known as the Mind Wipe Chamber. She has been sent by Poe to ask John to assist them. They converse for a bit, but the guards soon haul her away. John's punishment for disobeying Director Poe's order to kill Maddox is for the machine to start moving, as it causes him to hallucinate. As John recalls his time in the military, his wedding, and other events, his brain gradually begins to malfunction. Karen is invited to Poe's chamber 3 days later. The longest anyone has ever been on the machine was 1 hour, so he is shocked that John has survived this long. If Karen joins him in his chamber as his friend, he offers to release John. With no other option, Karen consents. John is totally brain dead when he returns to his cell. He is utterly deaf to pain and doesn't communicate with anyone. Poe and Karen are now cohabiting. She awakens one night to see Poe sitting in a chair that is strung up with cables. It turns out that he was altered to become a highly sophisticated human. He doesn't eat or sleep, but once a month he consumes amino acids. All children born within the prison experience the same thing. They undergo a number of transformational processes to become technologically advanced humans so that humanity will one day be free from overcrowding and hunger. One of the first infants to be subjected to research was Poe. Karen finds the revelation shocking. John has been ill for 4 months and is still not well. Abraham informs him that his baby will be born soon and that Karen's tummy is finally showing. John does not respond, but he does cry one tear. Poe is tricked into drinking alcohol that evening by Karen, which causes him to pass out. She manipulates John's dream using the control panel, observing the young John stranded in a pit. When she rescues him from the hole, the genuine John regains consciousness. The surprise and joy at his return are shared by his prison buddies. John asks Abraham to assist him and Karen in breaking out of the jail. Despite his skepticism, Abraham agrees to help John. Karen hears from Abraham regarding John's rehabilitation. She is ecstatic that her idea was successful. She makes the assertion that she can aid in his escape and begins to make plans. Later, Nino gives John the gadget he took from Maddox's corpse. Before entering the prison, their comrade D-Day was a computer nerd. He offers to disassemble the machine and examine it. Then, Karen is caught stealing a holographic lens that resembles a diamond from Poe's cabin. Although she nearly gets caught, she is able to conceal the object in her mouth. The next day, she gives Abraham the gadget and begs him to give it to John. Abraham agrees to do it as a favor even though he doesn't want to get into trouble. The guys activate the lens and view the hologram of the building by using the cell's shielding laser beams. They discover that the building site leads to an exit. Abraham returns Poe's cottage with the lens the next morning. Karen is asked to get rid of John and marry Poe. He even makes the commitment to let John free and says he would treat the child like his own. The offer for Karen's husband and child is accepted. D-Day discovers how the intestinate device operates in the interim. The device can be used to extract other bodies' devices because it is magnetic. They test the method, and when it succeeds, they are shocked. They remove every gastrointestinal device. The next day, Zed tells Poe to check the security camera tape because he saw Karen take the lens and Abraham put it back. Zed tells him that he has been fired as a result of his carelessness, which infuriates him to learn that he has been betrayed. The boys carried out their strategy in the interim. They pose as fighters while attaching their intestine equipment to a metal pipe in the work zone. The intestines are triggered when Zed learns about the fight, which causes them to burst. They now have a route out through the pipe as a result. But in order to keep them contained, Poe opens the steam valves and injects hot gas into the pipes. The strike clones are also activated by him, and they begin firing at the group from inside the facility. They are currently impaled in the pipe. Stiggs, one of the prisoners, flees in fear and makes a second attempt to enter the building, but the clones shoot him dead. Abraham goes up to Karen at the institution in the meantime, but Poe discovers them before they can do anything. In order to transform Karen's unborn child into advanced human like him, he kills Abraham and commands other soldiers to capture Karen. The guys manage to kill one of the clones in the meanwhile and discover that he is also an evolved human. John pulls out a gun and starts shooting the other clones. They fight the clones and enter the building. In the end, they succeed in climbing onto a device that functions like an elevator and raises them. When they witness them escaping, everyone in the prison celebrates for them. After arriving at Poe's chamber, they demand to speak with Karen. The physicians are shown on the TV attempting to extract her infant. Since he has been fired, the system does not obey John's command to stop the delivery, despite his threats to Poe. The killing machine spots the men and attempts to shoot them, but they quickly avoid it, making Poe the target. D-Day attempts to stop the physicians from operating on Karen after Poe's death by climbing into the control panel, but a clone shoots him before he can finish the procedure. A wounded D-Day uses his last remaining strength to knock down the facility's electrical system after John successfully kills the clone. The process is temporarily stopped by the doctors. Every prisoner begins to flee as the security system breaks. The sole survivors are John and Nino. They search for Karen and remove her from the medical staff. The three finally leave the institution after getting into a car. They only come to a stop once they enter Mexico across the border. The car they drove in starts to drive on its own as Karen is about to give birth in a shed. It turns out that the facility is still in charge of it. Nino is killed when it hits him. While Karen is giving birth inside the shed, John leaves to attack the car. With the earlier weapon, John strikes the car and detonates it. Karen is buried in the shed's wreckage after the car hits it, though. John searches for his wife in distress and discovers her nearby in safety. She is holding a newborn infant. The two stare at their child in wonder as the film comes to a close. Thank you for watching. Why don't you consider subscribing while you're here? We have the best recaps around and would love to have you part of our community. Thank you and see you in the next one.